John Miller looked at the stars through the window of his ship. He was the commander of Freedom's Dawn, a huge spaceship that had been traveling through space for 1,000 years. His hands touched the cold glass as he remembered stories his grandfather had told him. The stories were about Earth, the planet where all humans came from. John had never seen Earth. Neither had his parents or grandparents. They were all born on this ship, floating through the darkness of space. A long time ago, in the year 2150, aliens called the Zorathi came to Earth. They had powerful weapons and many ships. The Zorathi wanted Earth for themselves. They didn't care about the humans who lived there. The war was short. The Zorathi destroyed human cities and killed millions of people. Human weapons couldn't stop them. In just a few weeks, the aliens controlled the whole planet. Some humans managed to escape. They built big ships like Freedom's Dawn and left Earth behind. These ships were called generation ships because many generations would live and die on them before finding new homes. John's great-great-grandfather was one of the first people on Freedom's Dawn. He had been an engineer on Earth. When the Zorathi came, he helped build the escape ships. He watched Earth disappear behind them as they flew into space. Now, 1,000 years later, humans lived all over the galaxy. They had found new planets and built new cities. They called themselves the United Human Coalition. They were stronger than before, with better technology and bigger ships. Amy Roberts walked onto the bridge where John stood. She was a lieutenant and one of his best officers. She carried a data pad with reports from their scout ships. "Commander, I have the latest reports," Amy said. She was young but smart. Her brown hair was tied back in a neat ponytail. John turned from the window. "What do our scouts say?" "We found 3 more human colonies this month," Amy replied. "That makes over 200 colonies in total. Our people are doing well out here." John nodded. This was good news. Every new colony meant humanity was growing stronger. They were no longer the weak species that ran from Earth. Luke Harrison entered the bridge next. He was the captain of their military forces. Luke was tall and strong, with gray hair that showed his age. He had been training soldiers his whole life. "Commander Miller," Luke said with a salute, "our warriors are ready for today's training. The new weapons are working perfectly." John smiled. Their weapons were nothing like the old Earth weapons. They had plasma cannons that could melt through any armor. They had shields that could stop enemy fire. They had engines that could jump across space in seconds. "Good work, Captain," John said. "We must always be ready. We don't know what dangers we might find." But John knew what real danger looked like. It looked like the Zorathi. Those aliens were still out there somewhere. Maybe they still controlled Earth. Maybe they were looking for the humans who escaped. Sometimes John wondered about Earth. Were there still humans living there? Had the Zorathi killed everyone? Or were some people hiding, waiting for help? He shook his head. These were questions without answers. Earth was just a story now, passed down from parent to child. The real home for humans was here, among the stars. The ship's computer made a soft beeping sound. It was time for the daily meeting. John straightened his uniform and prepared to lead his people. They might be far from Earth, but they were still human. They would survive. They would grow stronger. And maybe, one day, they would go back. As John walked to the meeting room, he didn't know that everything was about to change. He didn't know that soon they would receive a message from Earth. He didn't know that their long journey through the stars was almost over. For now, he was just Commander John Miller, leading his people through space, keeping alive the memory of a planet none of them had ever seen. Kate Johnson sat in front of her computer screens, watching numbers and waves move across them. She was the chief scientist on Freedom's Dawn. Her job was to listen to space, searching for any signals from other ships or planets. For years, she had heard nothing special, just the normal sounds of stars and the messages from other human colonies. But today was different. A strange signal appeared on her screen. It was weak and broken, but it was there. Kate's heart began to beat faster. She had seen this type of signal before in old records. It was an emergency signal, the kind humans used during the Zorathi invasion. Kate checked the signal's direction. Her hands stopped moving. The signal was coming from Earth's solar system. She ran more tests, making sure she wasn't wrong. The computer confirmed it. Someone on Earth was calling for help. Kate picked up her communicator. "Commander Miller, please come to the science lab. It's urgent." John arrived quickly, followed by Amy. Kate showed them the signal on her screens. "This is from Earth," she said simply. "Someone is still alive there." John stared at the screen. "Are you sure?" "Yes. The signal uses our old emergency codes. Only humans would know these codes." John felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. There were still humans on Earth, and they needed help. "Can you make the signal clearer?" he asked. Kate worked on her computer for several minutes. Slowly, words began to appear. The message was simple but desperate. "Help us. Zorathi killing all humans. Not much time left. Please help." The room was silent. After 1,000 years, Earth was calling them home. Within an hour, all the coalition leaders were meeting through video screens. Admiral Ben Carter led the meeting. He was an old man with white hair and sharp eyes. He commanded all human military forces. "We've confirmed the signal," Ben said. "There are humans on Earth, and they're in danger. The Zorathi are trying to kill them all." The leaders looked at each other through their screens. They represented colonies from across the galaxy. Some were military commanders. Others were civilian leaders. All were descendants of Earth. "Do we have enough ships?" asked one leader. "Yes," Ben replied. "We have 500 warships ready. Our weapons are much better than they were 1,000 years ago." "But the Zorathi might be stronger too," said another leader. Lisa White, the head of military intelligence, spoke up. "Our spies say the Zorathi Empire is weaker now. They've spread too thin across too many planets. Earth doesn't have their best ships anymore." The debate continued for hours. Some leaders worried about the risk. They had built good lives in space. Why go back to fight a war? But others remembered their duty. Earth was humanity's first home. The people there were their family, even after all these years. Finally, they voted. Every leader said yes. They would go back to Earth. Ben stood up straight. "Then it's decided. We launch Operation Homecoming. We're going home." The next days were busy. Ships from all colonies began to gather. Weapons were checked and rechecked. Soldiers trained harder than ever. John watched from his window as more ships arrived. The human fleet grew larger every day. Battleships with heavy armor, fast destroyers with powerful engines, carriers full of fighter craft. Kate continued to monitor the signal from Earth. Sometimes she decoded new messages. They told terrible stories. The Zorathi were destroying human cities. They were taking people to work camps. They were hunting down anyone who resisted. "We need to hurry," Kate told John. "They don't have much time." Amy worked with the resistance contacts on Earth. Using secret codes, she learned about Zorathi defenses. The aliens had orbital stations around Earth. They had bases on the moon. They controlled all the major cities. But the resistance also shared good news. There were millions of humans still alive. They lived in hidden places, underground cities, and remote areas. They had been waiting for this day. As the fleet prepared to leave, John felt the weight of history on his shoulders. They were about to return to Earth, the planet their ancestors had fled. They would face the enemy that had driven them away. But this time, things were different. This time, humans were stronger. This time, they would win. Ryan Davis stood on the bridge of his battleship, looking at the stars ahead. He was leading the first group of ships toward Earth. Behind him, hundreds more ships were preparing to follow. The journey through hyperspace would take 3 weeks. During this time, Ryan and his crew had to make sure everything was ready for battle. They checked every weapon, every shield, every system on the ship. "Captain Davis," said his navigation officer. "We're approaching the halfway point." Ryan nodded. They were getting closer to Earth with each passing hour, closer to the planet none of them had ever seen, closer to the enemy that had haunted human nightmares for 1,000 years. On another ship, Emma Thompson was working with the communication systems. Her job was to contact the resistance fighters on Earth. These brave people had survived under Zorathi rule for generations. They had kept hope alive when everything seemed lost. Emma sent coded messages into space. She used frequencies the Zorathi couldn't detect. Slowly, responses came back from Earth. "Storm Eagles responding," came a voice through the static. "We read you, Coalition forces. We've waited so long for this day." Emma smiled. Storm Eagles was one of many resistance groups on Earth. They lived in the mountains, hiding from Zorathi patrols. They attacked enemy supply lines and rescued captured humans. "Storm Eagles, this is Lieutenant Thompson. We need information about Zorathi defenses. Can you help?" "Yes. We've been watching them for years. They have 3 major defense stations in orbit. Each one has plasma cannons and fighter bays. The moon base controls all orbital traffic." Emma wrote down everything they said. This information would save many lives in the coming battle. In the engine room of the flagship, Chris Martin was checking the new weapons systems. The Coalition had spent centuries improving their technology. Their ships now had weapons the Zorathi had never seen. "Antimatter torpedoes ready," Chris reported. "Gravity bombs loaded. Shield generators at full power." These weapons could destroy entire Zorathi ships with one hit. The shields could stop almost any attack. Humans were no longer the weak species that had fled Earth. As the fleet traveled through space, training continued every day. Soldiers practiced boarding enemy ships. Pilots flew simulation battles. Everyone prepared for the fight ahead. One day, Ryan called all his captains for a meeting. Their holographic images appeared around his conference table. "We're 1 week from Earth," Ryan said. "Our scouts report Zorathi ships patrolling the outer system. They don't know we're coming." "How many enemy ships?" asked one captain. "About 200. Most are old models. Their newest ships are fighting wars in other systems." This was good news. The Zorathi had grown lazy. They thought Earth was secure. They thought humans would never return. Emma continued talking with Earth's resistance groups. She learned about secret bases, hidden weapons, and underground cities. The resistance had built a whole network under the Zorathi's noses. "We have 50,000 fighters ready," reported one resistance leader. "When you attack from space, we'll attack from the ground." The Coalition fleet grew quiet as they approached the solar system. All unnecessary systems were shut down. Ships moved in attack formation. Everyone knew the battle was near. Ryan looked at the star charts. Somewhere ahead was Jupiter, then Mars, then Earth, the planets their ancestors had known, the home they had lost. "Sir," said his sensor officer, "I'm detecting the first Zorathi patrol ships. They haven't seen us yet." Ryan took a deep breath. This was it. The moment humans had waited for. The chance to take back their world. "All ships, prepare for combat," Ryan ordered. "Weapons hot. Shields up. It's time to go home." The fleet moved forward like a silent storm. Hundreds of ships filled with determined humans, armed with advanced weapons, ready to face their old enemy. In a few hours, they would reach the edge of Earth's system. The Zorathi would discover that humans had returned. The battle for Earth would begin. But Ryan wasn't worried. He looked at his crew, at the other ships around him, at the weapons they carried. Humans were ready. They were strong. They would win. The journey home was almost over. The real fight was about to begin. The Zorathi scout ship detected strange energy readings at the edge of the solar system. Captain Vextar looked at his screens with confusion. These readings didn't match any known patterns. "Send a patrol to investigate," Vextar ordered. He had commanded Earth's defenses for 50 years. Nothing ever happened here. Earth was a quiet post, far from the Empire's borders. 3 Zorathi warships moved toward the energy source. They expected to find a meteor shower or maybe a broken satellite. Instead, they found 500 human warships. The Zorathi pilots stared at their screens in shock. Humans. Here, that was impossible. Humans were weak creatures who lived in caves on Earth. They couldn't have ships like these. Ambassador Zix Kren appeared on the main communication screen. He was the highest-ranking Zorathi in the Earth system. His gray skin turned pale when he saw the human fleet. "This is Ambassador Zix Kren of the Zorathi Empire," he said. His voice tried to sound strong, but there was fear in it. "You are in Zorathi space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Admiral Susan Clark appeared on the screen. She wore the uniform of the Coalition Navy. Her face was calm and determined. "This is Admiral Clark of the United Human Coalition," she said. "We are here to reclaim Earth. You have 1 hour to begin evacuating all Zorathi forces. This is your only warning." Zix Kren laughed, but it sounded forced. "You primitive creatures dare to threaten us. We conquered your world easily. We will destroy you just as easily." "Things have changed," Susan replied. "We are not the same humans you fought before. Leave Earth now or face the consequences." The communication ended. Zix Kren turned to his commanders. "Attack them. Show these animals the power of the Zorathi Empire." The first Zorathi ship fired its plasma cannon. The green energy beam shot toward the human flagship. Everyone expected to see the human ship explode. Instead, the beam hit an invisible shield and disappeared. The human ship didn't even shake. Jake Robinson commanded a squadron of human destroyers. He had trained for this moment his whole life. "All ships, return fire. Show them what we've learned." Human ships fired their new weapons. Blue antimatter beams cut through space. They hit the Zorathi ships and punched straight through their armor. The first Zorathi ship exploded in a ball of fire. "Impossible," shouted a Zorathi commander. "Our armor is the strongest in the galaxy." But more human weapons were firing. Gravity bombs twisted space itself, crushing Zorathi ships like paper. Quantum torpedoes phased through shields like they weren't there. The Zorathi had never seen weapons like these. Their own plasma cannons seemed like toys in comparison. Ship after ship fell to human fire. "Retreat," screamed Vextar. "All ships retreat to Earth orbit." The surviving Zorathi ships turned and ran. But human ships were faster now. They chased the aliens across the solar system, destroying stragglers. On Earth, people watched the sky. They saw flashes of light as ships battled in orbit. For the first time in 1,000 years, they felt hope. "The humans have returned," whispered an old man in a hidden bunker. "Our children have come home." Ambassador Zix Kren called for help from other systems. "Emergency. Earth is under attack. Send all available ships." But the responses were not good. "Negative. Ambassador, we're fighting rebels in the Vega system. Cannot assist. Our fleet is needed at the border. Earth must defend itself." The Zorathi Empire had spread too thin. They had too many enemies, too many battles. Earth was on its own. Susan watched as the last Zorathi ships fled toward Earth. The first battle was won, but the war was just beginning. The aliens still held the planet. They still had orbital defenses. They still had millions of humans as prisoners. "All ships, advance to Earth orbit," Susan ordered. "Prepare for planetary assault. It's time to finish what we started." The human fleet moved forward. 500 ships against a planet of enemies. But they were not afraid. They had better weapons, better ships, and something the Zorathi could never understand. They had the fury of a species coming home. Nickel Evans stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Vengeance. The massive warship was the pride of the human fleet. Its main guns could crack a moon in half. Its shields could withstand a nuclear blast. Captain Evans reported her weapons officer. "All guns charged and ready. Targets locked on Zorathi defense stations." Nickel looked at Earth through the view screen. The blue planet hung in space, surrounded by ugly metal structures. The Zorathi had built weapons platforms all around the world. These stations had kept Earth prisoner for 1,000 years. "Fire," Nickel ordered. The Vengeance's main guns spoke. Beams of pure energy shot across space. They hit the first Zorathi station and tore it apart. Metal twisted and melted. The station exploded, sending debris flying in all directions. "Direct hit," cheered the crew. Station destroyed. More human ships joined the attack. They fired from all angles, overwhelming the Zorathi defenses. One by one, the orbital stations fell. Down on Earth, Major Paul Adams prepared his ground forces. Thousands of soldiers in powered armor stood ready in the landing ships. Each soldier wore a suit that made them stronger and faster. Each carried weapons that could melt through tank armor. "Listen up," Paul shouted to his troops. "We're about to land on Earth, the planet our ancestors called home. The Zorathi think they own it now. Let's show them they're wrong." The soldiers cheered. They had trained their whole lives for this moment. They were the children of refugees, and they were coming home angry. Drop pods began falling from the sky. Each one carried a squad of human soldiers. They landed in major cities around the world: New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow. Cities that had been human once and would be human again. The Zorathi garrison troops were not ready. They were used to controlling unarmed civilians. They had never faced soldiers in power armor. They had never seen plasma rifles that could shoot through walls. In New York, the aliens tried to hold Times Square. A company of Zorathi infantry set up defensive positions. They waited for the humans to walk into their trap. Instead, human soldiers jumped over buildings. Their armor let them leap 50 feet in the air. They landed behind the Zorathi lines and opened fire. The aliens fell before they could even turn around. Lieutenant Diana Foster led her team through the streets of London. Her mission was to link up with local resistance fighters. As her squad moved through the city, doors began to open. Humans emerged from hiding, cheering and crying. "You came back," shouted an old woman. "We knew you would come back." Diana found the resistance base in an old subway tunnel. Hundreds of fighters waited there, armed with stolen Zorathi weapons. Their leader was a man named George, whose grandfather had fought in the first invasion. "We're ready to fight," George said. "Just tell us where." Diana smiled. "Everywhere. It's time to take our planet back." Across the world, similar scenes played out. Human forces landed and linked up with resistance fighters. Together, they attacked Zorathi positions. The aliens retreated to fortified bases, abandoning the cities. In space, Nickel continued her assault. The Vengeance targeted the main Zorathi command station. This was where Ambassador Zix Kren controlled the occupation. "Ambassador," shouted a Zorathi officer, "the humans have destroyed all outer defenses. They're landing troops everywhere." Zix Kren watched his screens in horror. Red dots showed human forces spreading across Earth. His own forces were falling back or surrendering. The impossible was happening. Earth was falling. "Activate the Continental Defense Grid," Zix Kren ordered. "Use the earthquake generators. Destroy their cities if we must." But when his officers tried to activate these weapons, nothing happened. The systems were offline. Down on Earth, resistance hackers had spent years preparing for this day. They had sabotaged every major Zorathi system. Nickel's voice came over the communication system. "Ambassador Zix Kren, this is Captain Evans. Your defenses are down. Your forces are defeated. Surrender now, and we'll let you leave Earth alive." Zix Kren looked around his command center. His officers were afraid. His screen showed defeat everywhere. The humans had won. But the ambassador was not ready to give up. He had one last card to play. One last way to deny the humans their victory. Deep beneath his command station was a doomsday device. If he couldn't keep Earth, he would make sure no one could have it. Dr. Alex Turner sat at his computer station aboard the science vessel Discovery. His team had been working day and night to break Zorathi computer codes. Now, as the battle raged around Earth, they finally succeeded. "I'm in," Alex shouted. "I have access to their command network." His fingers flew over the keyboard. Zorathi security systems fell one by one. Years of alien encryption crumbled before human determination. Soon, Alex could see everything in the Zorathi network. "Admiral Clark, this is Dr. Turner." Alex said into his communicator, "I have control of their defense systems. I can turn their own weapons against them." Susan Clark's voice came back immediately. "Do it, Doctor. Turn everything they have against them." Alex typed new commands into the Zorathi systems. Around Earth, something strange began to happen. Zorathi defense platforms stopped firing at human ships. Instead, they turned their guns on Zorathi vessels. "What's happening?" screamed a Zorathi captain as his own orbital station opened fire on him. "Why are our weapons attacking us?" His ship exploded under friendly fire. All around Earth, Zorathi forces watched in horror as their own defenses betrayed them. Automated weapons turned on their masters. Shield generators shut down. Communications failed. In North America, General Peter Williams led the assault on the main Zorathi stronghold. This massive fortress housed the alien military command. Supreme Overlord Vextor had ruled Earth from this building for 200 years. General Williams reported a scout. "The fortress shields are down. Their automated defenses have stopped working." Peter smiled grimly. "Dr. Turner's work, no doubt. All units, advance. Take that fortress." Human tanks rolled forward. Soldiers in power armor charged across open ground. The Zorathi tried to resist, but without their technology advantage, they were just flesh and blood. Human weapons cut them down. Inside the fortress, Supreme Overlord Vextor raged at his officers. "How can this be? We are the Zorathi Empire. We have ruled the galaxy for millennia." An explosion shook the building. Human forces had breached the outer walls. Vextor could hear the sound of battle getting closer. "Supreme Overlord," said his aide, "we must evacuate. The humans have won." "Never." Vextor pulled out a communication device. "If I cannot have Earth, I will destroy it. Execute Order Omega. Kill all human prisoners. Release the bioweapons. Burn the cities." But when Vextor tried to send these orders, nothing happened. His device was dead. His communication networks were dark. The humans controlled everything. Lieutenant Kelly Anderson led her strike team through the fortress corridors. They moved fast, shooting down any Zorathi who tried to stop them. Her mission was critical. "Find the Doomsday Weapon Control Room." "This way," shouted her point man. I found it. Kelly's team burst into a large chamber. Banks of computers lined the walls. In the center stood a massive control panel. Warning lights flashed red. Screens showed countdown timers. "They've started the self-destruct sequence," Kelly reported. "The whole planet's biosphere will be destroyed in 30 minutes. Admiral Clark's voice was calm but urgent. "Stop it, Lieutenant. Everything depends on you." Kelly ran to the controls. Her fingers danced over alien symbols. She had studied Zorathi technology for years, preparing for this moment. One by one, she shut down the Doomsday systems. The countdown timers slowed. The warning lights changed from red to yellow to green. With 5 minutes to spare, Kelly entered the final shutdown code. "Doomsday weapon disabled," she reported. "Earth is safe." Across the planet, the tide had turned completely. Zorathi forces surrendered everywhere. Their technology had failed them. Their leaders were captured or dead. Their empire's control over Earth was broken. General Williams found Supreme Overlord Vextor cowering in his command bunker. The once proud alien leader looked small and afraid. "You have lost," Peter said simply. "Earth belongs to humans again." Vextor fell to his knees. How? How did you become so strong? You were nothing when we conquered you." Peter looked down at the alien. You made a mistake. You thought you could keep us down forever. But humans don't give up. We adapt. We grow stronger. And we never forget our home." As the sun rose over Earth, human flags began to fly again. The occupation was over. The planet was free. Captain Dan Murphy watched his radar screens carefully. His fleet was positioned at the edge of the solar system, waiting for enemy reinforcements. Intelligence reports said the Zorathi Empire was sending a rescue fleet to Earth. "Contact," shouted his sensor officer. "Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. It's the Zorathi Relief Force." Dan counted 50 enemy warships. They were the newest models, sent to save their forces on Earth. But Dan was ready for them. "All ships, attack pattern Delta," Dan ordered. "Spring the trap." Human ships had been hiding behind asteroids and space debris. Now they powered up their weapons and moved to surround the Zorathi fleet. The aliens had flown straight into an ambush. The Zorathi commander tried to retreat, but it was too late. Human ships fired from all directions. Antimatter torpedoes and plasma beams filled space. The Zorathi ships, despite being newer, were still no match for human technology. In 20 minutes, the entire relief fleet was destroyed. Dan's ships hadn't lost a single vessel. "Send a message to all Zorathi forces," Dan said. "No help is coming. Surrender now, or share the fate of your fleet." On Earth, Admiral Patricia Jones stood in the ruins of the Zorathi High Command. She had set up her headquarters where the aliens once ruled. Now she prepared to broadcast surrender terms to all remaining Zorathi forces. "This is Admiral Jones of the United Human Coalition," she began. "To all Zorathi military units still fighting. Your leaders are captured. Your fleet is destroyed. Your reinforcements are gone. Further resistance is pointless." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We offer you a choice. Lay down your weapons and you will be allowed to leave Earth safely. Continue fighting, and you will be destroyed. You have 1 hour to decide." Around the world, Zorathi units began to surrender. Small groups of alien soldiers walked out of their bunkers with raised hands. They threw down their weapons and waited to be taken prisoner. Some Zorathi officers refused to believe it. "It's a trick," they shouted. "The Empire would never abandon us." But as hours passed with no word from their leaders, even the stubborn ones gave up. White flags appeared over Zorathi bases. The occupation was truly ending. Commander Joe Taylor led the liberation of the prison camps. For 1,000 years, the Zorathi had kept millions of humans in these terrible places. People were forced to work in mines and factories, making weapons for their alien masters. Joe's team broke down the gates of the largest camp in Asia. Inside, they found 50,000 prisoners. Men, women, and children who had never known freedom. They stared at the human soldiers in power armor, too shocked to move. "You're free," Joe said softly. "The Zorathi are defeated. Earth is ours again." An old man stepped forward. His back was bent from years of hard labor, but his eyes were bright with tears. "Is it true? Have our brothers and sisters really returned from the stars?" Joe removed his helmet, showing his human face. "Yes, we never forgot you. We never stopped fighting to come home." The camp erupted in celebration. People hugged each other, crying and laughing. Families that had been separated were reunited. Children saw the sky without fence wires for the first time. Similar scenes happened all over Earth. Prison camps opened. Hidden cities emerged into daylight. Resistance fighters walked openly in the streets. The planet that had been silent for so long now rang with human voices. In orbit, the last Zorathi commander made his decision. He had 30 ships left and nowhere to go. His choices were surrender or death. "This is Commander Zekval," he transmitted. "We accept your terms. We surrender." Human ships surrounded the Zorathi vessels and escorted them away from Earth. The aliens would be given small transport ships and sent back to their empire. They would carry a message. Earth was human again, and humans were not to be challenged. As the sun set on Liberation Day, humans around the world looked up at the sky. For the first time in 1,000 years, only human ships flew overhead. The stars that had seemed so cold and distant now felt like friends. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Earth needed to be rebuilt. Damage needed to be repaired. But today was for celebration. Today, humanity had come home. 1 month had passed since Liberation Day. President Laura King stood at the podium in the restored United Nations building. Representatives from every human colony filled the Great Hall. For the first time in 1,000 years, all of humanity was united in one place. My fellow humans, Laura began. Today marks the beginning of a new chapter in our history. We are no longer scattered refugees. We are no longer a conquered people. We are one species, one family, united again on the planet of our birth. The hall erupted in applause. People who had never seen Earth sat next to those who had never left it. Colony-born humans shook hands with Earth-born resistance fighters. Old divisions disappeared in the joy of reunion. We face great challenges, Laura continued. Earth has been damaged by centuries of alien rule. Our cities need rebuilding. Our environment needs healing. But we also have great resources. Our colonies bring advanced technology. Our Earth brothers and sisters bring knowledge of our home. Together, we will make Earth greater than ever before. Outside the building, work had already begun. Coalition engineers used matter converters to clean polluted rivers. Terraforming equipment repaired damaged ecosystems. Medical teams treated diseases the Zorathy had ignored. Ambassador Steve Mitchell sat across from the defeated Zorathy leaders. The aliens looked small and frightened now, nothing like the conquerors they once were. Steve had been chosen to negotiate the final peace terms. The United Human Coalition demands the following. Steve said, First, the Zorathy Empire will pay reparations for 1,000 years of occupation. This payment will be in resources, technology, and territorial concessions. The lead Zorathy negotiator nodded weakly. They had no choice but to agree. Second, Steve continued, all star systems within 50 light-years of Earth will become human territory. The Zorathy will withdraw completely from this sphere. Again, the aliens agreed. Their empire was crumbling anyway. Other species they had conquered were rebelling, inspired by humanity's victory. Third, the Zorathy will provide all historical records about Earth before the invasion. Our people want to know their full history. This surprised the Zorathy. They had expected demands for revenge, for punishment. Instead, humans wanted knowledge, growth, and security. We agree to all terms, the lead negotiator said. We only ask that you allow us to leave in peace. Steve nodded. We are not like you. We don't seek to conquer or destroy. We only want our freedom and safety. Go in peace and never return. In New York City, children played in Central Park. The park had been a Zorathy military base for centuries. Now it was green again, filled with trees and laughing voices. Mary Wilson watched her daughter play with other children. Some were from Earth, others from distant colonies. They didn't care about differences. They were just kids, playing together under Earth's blue sky. It's hard to believe, said another parent. A year ago, we were hiding in tunnels. Now our children play freely. Mary smiled. This is what we fought for. Not just to defeat the Zorathy, but to give our children a future. Captain Matt Stewart stood on the observation deck of the space station New Hope. Below him, Earth turned slowly in space. The planet showed scars from its long occupation, but it was healing. Green spread where there had been gray. Blue waters ran clean again. Ships arrived daily from the colonies, bringing supplies and technology. Other ships left, carrying Earth-born humans to see the worlds their cousins had built. The isolation was over. Humanity was connected again. Captain, said his communication officer, we're receiving reports from the frontier. 3 more species have overthrown their Zorathy occupiers. They're asking for our help. Matt nodded. Humanity's victory had started a chain reaction across the galaxy. The Zorathy Empire was falling apart. Freedom was spreading. "Tell them we'll send advisors," Matt said. "We'll share our technology and tactics. Every species deserves freedom." As the sun rose over Earth, a new day began. Cities were being rebuilt with clean technology. Forests were growing where factories once stood. Humans worked together, combining the best of Earth and the colonies. The long exile was over. The occupation was ended. Humanity had not just survived but grown stronger. They had kept their spirit alive across the stars and brought it home again. The future stretched ahead, bright with possibility. Earth was free. Humanity was united, and the galaxy would never be the same.